I'm Naomi Kowles. Appointed in January and starting just this week, we are hearing for the first time from new UW System President Jay Rothman. Former CEO of a Milwaukee-based international law firm, he'll be hitting the ground running with a number of challenges to grapple with, like declining enrollment and tensions with the legislature. I sat down with him this week. Congratulations on your appointment. I want to jump right in with the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges facing the UW system right now, enrollment. Presumably you've had some time to connect with chancellors, you've talked to regents, you've talked to other key stakeholders about this issue. Where do you stand, and what's your plan for, say, the smaller campuses around the system?
And let me answer that in a different way, a little bit different way, really focusing on 4 priorities that we're coming out of the gate with. One is the enhanced focus on students. And we're doing 100 student interviews and highlighting 100 student interviews over the next 100 days, starting yesterday. With my first day, about the impact that the universities have had on students, and these are current students across the state. You know, the second piece and the second priority is dealing with affordability, and I have tasked our data analytics team to work on the issues around affordability, looking at it in 2 different ways. One is from the perspective of peer institutions, and the second is affordability as it relates to any individual and their economic circumstances. How can we best make it affordable? In that regard, we're going to be presenting a budget, an annual budget next week at the Regents meeting in Milwaukee, with my recommendation that we have a tuition freeze for next year for in-state undergraduates. As part of that, and we're pleased that Governor Evers' administration was able to get us money to help facilitate that going forward. But tuition for undergraduates in-state will be frozen for next year. The other thing I would look at, and it really fits in the 3rd priority that we have, and that is really building the work with various stakeholders, whether it's the legislature, whether it's others, but also the business community. Asking the business community what they need in terms of students coming out of the university, so in turn students can see the impact that the college education can be, because it's an investment for them of both time and money. But if they can see they can have really great jobs coming out and businesses are directly aligned with that, I think that's a big step forward around enrollment. And finally, the big piece around enrollment when you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, because we need to do a better job of serving underrepresented populations in the state and getting them into the university. It ties back into affordability, it ties back into accessibility, our issues that we're working on. But if we're going to fulfill the Wisconsin idea, we have to have more students from underrepresented groups in our university system.
I want to talk a little bit more about the 3rd priority you mentioned, legislature relationship. That's obviously one of these big talking points. There has been strain between the legislature and the system in the past. Have you talked to lawmakers since your appointment? What is the content of those conversations? How are you going to broach that? Certainly,
I've had some conversations so far with some leaders in the legislature. I intend to continue those and also expand them to the legislators across the board, because I think we need to have a great working relationship with the legislature. I always believe in that our legislators have the best interests of the state of Wisconsin in mind. There are different views about how you affect and try to achieve what's in the best interest of the state. But I look at the system and the impact that the system has and the impact that those universities have on creating and developing and building the talent that's necessary for Wisconsin to be vibrant in the future. And I think we would all agree on that. How we get there, there'll be discussions. I'll be open, I'll be candid in our discussions with the legislators, because they are a critical component. The legislature is really important to the system, and I want that to be a relationship that is of give and take.
Do you think it was appropriate for the legislature to blast the appointment of UW-Madison Chancellor Jennifer Neumann based on her, perhaps, the state where she comes from, and also Robin Voss mentioned, you know, her support of critical race theory? Do you think that was appropriate?
I think Jennifer Neumann is just a gifted academic, a gifted leader. I think she will do great things for UW-Madison and for the system more generally, because the flagship is really important to the system as a whole. And I really look forward to Jennifer being here and people getting to meet her and interact with her, because I think they will come away as impressed as I have been with her.
Do you feel like this kind of friction kind of sours your own appointment coming into the legislature in terms of how you and Robin Voss perhaps interact?
No, I don't think so. I've already had subsequent conversations with the speaker, and I don't think so at all. I think we will have a great working relationship going forward. That's what I'm focused on. Again, because it's not a personality thing. It is about what is in the best interest of the state of Wisconsin. How can the system help achieve some of the objectives that the legislature wants to do for the state, so that the state can be a vibrant place, where state can be where businesses can thrive and grow, and other organizations can thrive and grow. That's what we all want for the state of Wisconsin. I think if we start at that level, there'll be different ways of how we get there. There'll be disagreements about how we best approach that. But if we all have that as our guiding principle, I think we will have a good working relationship with legislators on both sides of the aisle.
Pivoting a little bit, the recent free speech survey kind of caused some other turmoil on campus. Right now, it's been postponed to the fall. Will you greenlight that survey?
Yes. The survey is going to go forward. It's been modified a bit to make sure that it provides statistically significant responses, because I think that's critical with any survey, that it be a scientific survey that's developed to focus on that. We've been working to achieve that very result. But I think it raises an issue that's broader than just the survey. I think the issue around freedom of expression and civil dialogue on the campuses is absolutely critical. Because if you think about what a university needs to be, it needs to be that place where ideas can be debated and discussed in a civil fashion, where people aren't tainted or labeled because of their particular viewpoints, or if they make a mistake, they don't become labeled as a result of that. That's the marketplace of ideas. That's what a university education is all about. We're working on some things within the system right now. The universities have done a good job of this already. We're trying to provide some additional support items for them as they think about this issue going forward, totally unrelated to the survey, because that, I think there is a consensus within the universities that we need to continue to forward that and have that civil dialogue where people can be free to express their own opinions.
Do you agree with the consolidation that happened a few years back with 2-year campuses and 4-year campuses? Do you foresee future consolidation, perhaps more reliance on online learning in the future for smaller campuses in the system?
You know, I think there will be there'll be more hybrid learning. I think that's just what's going to happen at some level. But I don't think we can underestimate the value of in-person, in-residence learning.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.